What's going on, guys? Welcome to the LowKick MMA preview show for UFC 257. Obviously, the return of Conor McGregor taking on the number 2 ranked Dustin Poirier. Probably the most hyped pay-per-view of the first quarter of the year, I'd say. Especially with Conor McGregor on the card, it's going to be the biggest draw of the year, probably, unless we get a Khabib rematch or something, or rather like that. But huge fight, huge main event. What are your thoughts on this?
It's great to have Conor McGregor back. I was always, last year it looked like he was done. Another Conor McGregor fight, and I expect it to be better, much better than the first fight. I think it's a stacked card. It's what we've all been waiting for, and it's exciting. It's exciting. It's a Conor McGregor fight week. It's great to be back at this, position where we didn't really think we'd be back at this, and absolutely can't wait.
For sure. Given the circumstances of last year with COVID and whatnot, Conor was talking about his season. It was going to be the Conor McGregor year of 2020. Got postponed a little bit, but what can you do? 2021, he promises to fight 3 or 4 times, and this will be the start of that. We'll go straight into the matchup in the main event. Conor coming off a win over Cowboy, which in my opinion, at the time in Cowboy's career and being at 170, I don't really hold a lot of stock in that win in terms of a lightweight title picture fight, which is what he wanted to do straight after that. He wanted the title fight at lightweight. But if he can get a win over Poirier here, there's no denying that Conor McGregor deserves a title fight, and he expects to do it. He says 60 seconds. I don't know about that. I think that might be a bit grandiose, but Poirier's last fight was a war with Dan Hooker for 5 rounds. He's not going to go out easy, and we'll see. What do you think? The 60 seconds, or do you think it takes longer?
It'll take a lot. I'm back on McGregor. For me, I was rewatching Poirier against Hooker last night, and I was thinking to myself, Conor McGregor, I think he destroys Dan Hooker. I honestly do. I think Conor McGregor would not hear a peep from Dan Hooker. I don't think he'd really struggle with Justin Gaethje either. I think he'd ping Justin Gaethje pretty early and hurt him as well. And it's kind of this thing where Dustin's struggling with guys who I think Conor McGregor would wipe the floor with. So it's I struggle to pick Poirier. I know he's really good, and I can see a route to victory for him in the sense that he could potentially, withstand the onslaught, take him to deep waters, drown him, in that type of battle. For me, do I see Poirier standing up to Conor McGregor's shots, his best shots, and he's going to land them because Poirier is he's pretty hittable in my opinion. So no, I don't. I think Conor McGregor hits too hard, he's too accurate. I think Poirier is smarter, and if he is, smart about it, he will put the pressure on McGregor and not allow him the chance to counter-attack, just, swarm him type thing. But honestly, I do see McGregor winning within 2 rounds.
So durability and pressure is the 2 keys for Dustin here, I think. He needs to be pressuring McGregor. He can't be going backwards. If he lets McGregor put him going backwards, he's going to cut him off in the cage, land that left hand, it'll be over. But that's the main X factor in this fight, is the durability. You've seen people like Nate Diaz. Conor couldn't put him out. In the first fight, he couldn't put him out early. He gassed out. All right. The second fight, he couldn't put him out, and Nate took him into a 5-round war. Great fight. I thought Conor did win that fight, but, it was competitive. And I do think Poirier's skills, especially on the stand-up, are better than Nate Diaz's. Different, but I think they are better. And if Poirier can withstand the big shots, if he can just not go down, I think he can put the pressure on and take a victory in this one. I just don't know, because we look at the first fight and, okay, featherweight, less durable, whatever. He still got finished with one shot that barely grazed the back of his head, And we saw him get finished by Michael Johnson at lightweight. It's not like he hasn't been finished at lightweight. He took big shots from Justin Gaethje. He took big shots from Dan Hooker. But everyone seems to talk about this Conor McGregor left hand. If he can't take that left hand for Conor McGregor, which will land on him in this fight, it's going to be an easy night for Conor.
Yeah, and I just don't think he can. Honestly, respect to Gaethje and Hooker, but they're just not at the same level in terms of striking ability and for my money, power as Conor McGregor. I think he's too powerful. I think at 155, this is the best Conor McGregor you're gonna get, and it's a shame that we've only seen him fight here twice. Obviously he looked sensational against Alvarez, but he didn't look great against Khabib. He struggled in that fight. So I want to see him at 155. I want to see him be active. And I just think Poirier, as I said, too hittable. He's got a good chin. It's not that he doesn't have a good chin. He's just too hittable. And he does get hurt in the fights. I think Hooker hurt him. I think Gaethje hurt him. I think Alvarez hurt him. As we've seen, Conor dealt with Alvarez really easily. And I think he'd deal with the other two really easily. So just levels this game, as we found out on the weekend when Holloway mashed up Qatar, and I think Conor is just a couple of levels above Poirier, who despite me saying that is a brilliant fighter. I just think Conor, and style-wise, it's just not a nice style-wise match for Poirier. Maybe he can drag it to the floor, but I just don't see him getting out the first 2 rounds unless Conor's really dropped off. I don't see it.
But that's the thing, right? There's 2 ways to beat Conor McGregor. We've seen them both. The first way is the pressure. You push him back, make him get tired, and then you either finish him with a rear naked choke or you drag him to a decision to lose. But like what I'm saying is the pressure it was not good against him in that either Nate fight. The pressure was a big problem. So you can pressure Conor back, and that's one way you could do it potentially. And the other way is the way we saw Khabib do it, which was just take him down over and over again. Conor is not a bad grappler. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that his striking is his best asset, and he knows it, and everyone who fights him knows it. If you can ground him, you can win the fight. And even in the fight against Chad Mendes took him down multiple times. Mendes held him down for a little while, that fight. And while Mendes lost the fight, he got finished. I think a lot of the reason he got finished was the fact he got tired trying to take Conor down. But it wasn't the fact that he wasn't winning when he got him down. You know what I'm saying? I think that is a clear way for Poirier to win. But can he get McGregor down? I don't know if he can. I haven't seen Poirier try and take anyone down. He really only goes to the ground if he's jumping on a guillotine or defending himself. But, if this gets into the 3rd, 4th round and he's tired if they're both tired, he might see that as an easy route to put the fight in his advantage where he's more comfortable, which I think he will be more comfortable. Don't know. If I'm making a pick on this one, I'm taking Conor because I just think that left hand's going to land early and it'll be over. But I do hope both of them have asked for this war. Both of them want to showcase their ability over multiple rounds. I just don't think it'll happen, but I do hope we see it.
I'd be very surprised if we got that war. Like, I just don't see Poirier is not Nate Diaz. Let's be honest. Nate Diaz is a freak. And it was up at 170. 170. Conor, is undersized for that weight. 155 primed. It's a very even height wise. He might be the bigger man going in on the night. It is a different animal, and I just if Poirier gets it done, it would be more about staying out of the range, or pushing up to a fence, grounding him down, doing an Usman type thing on him, then tiring him out, and then in the 3rd, 4th round, maybe try and put some punches together, grab a submission type thing. I can't see a war because I can't see Poirier surviving 1 round of war. Like I just think it's that'd be a big surprise for me, and I'd love to see it obviously because it'd be really fun. But I do see routes to victory for Poirier, but the clear one in my mind is Conor. Just pinging him. Within Eddie Alvarez style. I think Poirier will land. He'll do well. He'll probably do better than Eddie Alvarez, but Conor will just be able to hit and hurt him frequently.
All right, before we move on from this one, let's just talk implications. Obviously, we had Khabib's big, huge announcement that is super hyped. Everyone wanted to see what that was, and it was that Khabib may or may not fight someone on this card, or Oliveira. For some reason, they tagged him in, but who knows? Do you think if Conor goes out there and gets the win in 60 seconds, that Khabib will decide he wants to fight him, and do you think that's the fight that goes next?
Yeah, I think he... The more I sit and stew on this, and the more that Khabib hesitates to retire, the more I think he fancies that McGregor rematch now. Mm-hmm. I thought it was impossible a few months back, but now it just seems like he does fancy it. Conor McGregor, if Conor McGregor's back and looks good, and Conor McGregor has got all these excuses saying I was drinking, I wasn't taking this fight seriously, I was doing this and that, and Khabib might just want to shut it down. And then also there's the tag, I don't know how much money to make 50 million each, or Conor make 100. It's going to be huge money either way. There's a lot on the line, and that announcement, it was anticlimactic, and Dana, he's selling his wolf tickets, but it does make sense in the sense that if you're Khabib, why make an announcement before these 2 big fights are going to take place? Say he retires last week, then he officially anyway, and then Conor McGregor, gets rid of Poirier within 60 seconds, gets on the mic, calls Khabib a rat and says, let's fight again. And then he has to unretire. What's the point? I think that would be enough for him to come out. And very interesting times. I think Conor McGregor's the guy. If he looked good, that's who he's going to face. I don't think Poirier maybe actually Poirier, because beating up McGregor would be huge, but I don't think Dan Hooker or Michael Chandler are going to be enticing Khabib out of retirement. It's not going to happen.
Well, the thing about that announcement, just quickly before we move on, was they kept mentioning Charles Oliveira. So in my mind, it seems to me that if no one in here pulls off something worthy, he'll just take the Oliveira fight, and that'll be his 30th fight. But we won't get into that because this is about 257. And just lastly, I think if Poirier does get the win here, it'll definitely put him in that title shot against Khabib because, like you said, Conor McGregor is the biggest name in the sport. Doesn't matter about his ranking. Doesn't matter if he's not got the belt. He's the biggest name in the sport. And doesn't matter how you beat him. Even if Poirier laid on him for 4 rounds and submitted him in the 5th, I still think just having that name on your resume would do wonders and would get him that title fight. But who knows? We'll jump on to the co-main event, which is also a lightweight bout, which is the introduction to the UFC of Bellator's Michael Chandler, former multiple-time Bellator champion. Had a couple of losses, then had a big win, and now he's in the UFC, taking on number 6, Dan Hooker. I think this is a good introduction for him in terms of they were trying to throw him as a backup for the title last time. They wanted to give him a Tony Ferguson, Dustin Poirier. I just don't think that he should have been in these top 4 ranking matchups. Fair enough, Dan Hooker. It's a real big test. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect fight. Obviously, there was talk about him going a bit higher, and he's I think he was 3-time champion Bellator, so I'm not surprised to give him a little push. And also, I think he's in his mid-30s, so there's not a lot of time to waste. This is the perfect fight. I think you'd beat Dan Hooker, you've kind of cemented yourself as a top 5 fighter. Then you fight Charles Oliveira, or you fight Tony Ferguson, or you fight, the loser of Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor, and then you get a title shot. I think it's a really good fight, and I'm interested to see Chandler, how he looks at this level, because Hooker, he's in the mix, but he's not really in the mix for me. I don't think Hooker is capable of winning the title. I don't think he's capable of beating anyone in the top 5. Maybe Tony Ferguson, only because he's on a down slab. But Chandler, would this be the biggest win of his career? Like, he's got that win over Eddie Alvarez. He's got a win over a couple of wins over Benson Henson. So would this be the biggest win of his career? Would this be the most talented fighter he's fought? It's interesting. I'm very interested to see Chandler. I fancy Hooker just because he's got the height. He's really tall. I think Chandler looks like a blown up featherweight. He reminds me of Chad Mendes the way his build. But Dan Hooker looked a bit vulnerable to takedowns against Dustin Poirier towards the end of that fight. So it's a 50-50. It's a really good fight, and brilliant introduction for Chandler. Brilliant chance for Hooker to get back in the win column, make a big statement against a big name on the biggest card of potentially the year.
I definitely favour Hooker in this fight, and I think the size is a key factor in that. Michael Chandler's a very small lightweight. Dan Hooker's a tall lightweight, so I think that will play a huge role in it. I expect Chandler to have more of a wrestling-heavy approach in this. I think he's going to try and take Hooker down, and whether he can or not remains to be seen, but I imagine he gets pinged and put out. I don't know when it will be. It's a 3-round fight. I expect Hooker just to school him on the feet. Who knows? If he can land on Hooker to the body early and do some groundwork, he will have some momentum to be able to get into the range and really do some damage. Because we've seen, like in the Barboza fight, the body shots were the thing that really did Hooker in. He eventually got TKO'd from the body shots. So that might be a place for Chandler to invest early. Otherwise, I expect him to go for the wrestling. But I don't think I think Hooker wins this one, but I would not be surprised if Chandler does win. Like you said, I don't see either guy from this fight getting a title shot, so
No, I don't think either of these guys is as I said, there's levels, and there's Conor McGregor, then there's Dustin Poirier, then there's a drop down to Dan Hooker and Michael Chandler's at the world, and it might not seem much, but I think it's a big gap to jump, and then you've got Khabib on top of that, who's even a level above McGregor, so it's there's a lot going on. I think it's a great fight by both guys. I think I think Chandler stands to gain more if he wins. I think the UFC seem to want to push him. I wouldn't be that surprised if they try to push him into a title shot. But Dan Hooker, he's got work to do. Dan Hooker is he lost convincingly to Poirier in my eyes. It was a good fight, but by the 4th and 5th round, it was a beating. So if he can go out and make a statement against Chandler, and then potentially face Ferguson, which would be a fun fight.
You can't. I don't think that Hooker would take this fight unless he had a promise of a number one contender fight after it. Why would you introduce someone like Chandler to the UFC unless you have a promise on the table that you win this fight, you get a number one contender fight? And look, he had a close fight with Dustin Poirier. It wasn't close. It was reasonably close. It was competitive, right? It wasn't a close fight, but it was a competitive fight. Before that, he had a fight with Felder where it was very close, and he ended up winning that, but that was a good one. He's beaten a lot of the guys behind him. I think with a win over Chandler, they throw him a number one contender fight against an Oliveira or Justin Gaethje. I think they give him one of those big names. I don't think he gets a title shot. Chandler maybe gets a title shot because for some reason the UFC want to push him. But my big key point with Chandler here is I don't know how good he is. His last win was a knockout over Benson Henderson, which is Henderson's way on the tail end of his career. And you could put him there against someone like Islam Makhachev or Drew Dober, and maybe he loses. Who knows? And that just goes for both sides. You don't know how good Chandler actually compares, and you just don't know how good these up-and-coming guys are. So I don't like the idea of rushing him to a title shot. But hey, I'm not the UFC, so we'll see what they want to do.
Yeah, obviously you do have to rush him because he's got that pedigree. I imagine he's on a big contract with the UFC in terms of money, and he is. I think he's 34, so it is. But I think Hooker's the right fight. I don't think this is rushing him in. I think this is his level. This is where he should be, and it's just a huge opportunity for both of them just to be on this card. Under Conor McGregor.
That's it.
As Cormier was saying last weweek, whoever wins this fight, get on the mic and call out Conor McGregor. Like, it makes all the sense in the world. Go and try and get that, red panty night as they call it. So it's huge fight, the lightweight division, and can't wait to watch that one as well.
For sure, and we'll just go through the rest of the main card fights here. We've got Jessica Eye taking on Joanne Calderwood in the women's flyweight division. Both coming off a loss from memory. Calderwood's loss was against Jennifer Maia in April or May, earlier in the year. She had a title shot sorted and she went and fought Jennifer Maia and had the title shot taken from her. But hey, she's coming on the bounce, taking on Jessica Eye, who's lost to Cynthia Calvillo in her last fight. And so, yeah, two people coming off a loss. We'll see who moves up the division, who stays back. Obviously, this one's going to be a striking matchup. I don't know what to expect. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be a back and forth kickboxing match. I think they're going to... honestly, in terms of who wins, I kind of give it Jessica Eye the edge just because she's quite. I think she's one of the bigger girls in the division, which I think might translate in the fight. But she was really disappointing last time against Calvillo, so I'm not sure. They were saying on the broadcast the other night that this is a number one contender fight, which I was surprised, or eliminator fight or something like that, which I was surprised to hear. Obviously, I'm going to back Calder because she's from my ways, but I do kind of go towards Eye. I'm not sure. What do you think?
No clue who's going to win this one. It could go either way, in my opinion. I don't think either of them have the power to knock the other one out with one big shot. So if the finish comes, it'll be through volume. And I just think they're quite similar stylistically, so I just don't know what to expect. But hey, it'll be a good fight, and keen to see what happens. Before that, one of my favourite fights in the card, actually. Matt Frevola taking on Otman Azaitar. Azaitar is probably one of my favourite up-and-coming fighters to watch because he's just knocking everyone out. I rated Karma Worthy so highly, and then Azaitar just made short work of him inside a round. Taking on Frevola, who is on a win streak from memory, I believe. He's 8-1. I'm pulling up the stats now. Yeah, he beat Luis Pena by decision and Turner by decision. He had a fight with Venata. Look, he seems to be someone who gets their best work done over the distance, right? And I don't think that is a great stat to have when you're going against Azaitar, who's finishing everyone in the first round. What are your thoughts on the matchup, and what do you expect to happen?
Yeah, I expect Azaitar to go in and look, sensational again and potentially get a big knockout. But then I expected Joaquin Buckley to go and get a big knockout against Alessio Chikaro. So you never know with these type of fights. I do think this is a tough night for Matt Frevola. I think he's done well. He's picked up some good wins, Jalen Turner. But as you said, he likes the decision amount, and I don't think he's going to get that chance. I think Azaitar is going to go in. He's going to tag him early and potentially get a performance bonus. But it's fighting. Anything can happen, and Frevola's definitely, he might be a dog in the fight, but he's a live dog, and it's exciting to see Azaitar again in another good test because Frevola, he's got some good wins at lightweight. As I said, Jalen Turner, Luis Pena. He got a draw against Venata, who I'm a big fan of. So good luck to him, but I think he's going to need against the Zaita.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting one. That's my pick for performance of the night. I think Azardar's going to do something special. And I do hope so because like the stage is on with being this pay-per-view. If he can pull something like that off, hey, he's going to get skyrocketed. But opening the main card, we have Marina Rodriguez taking on Amanda Ribas, everyone's favorite women's strawweight fighter who's getting all the shine and moving up in the division. This is a good test for her. It's only one rank above her where she is now, 9 against 8. But I think with a win here, she's just going to become even more marketable and just move up the division. I think they're going to push her the same way they did Macy Barber, and I expect her to get a win here because I think she's one of the better fighters in that division. What are your thoughts on the fight?
Yeah, I really like the way they're moving Amanda Ribas. They're really taking her through the ranks and getting her some exposure, fighting Paige Van Zandt. That's a huge fight, Dan, and I think that was on another pay-per-view. Then you put on another Conor McGregor pay-per-view against Marina Rodriguez. I think she's getting a push here, and they really do want her to win. But Marina Rodriguez, she's a tough cookie, and she'll be tough to beat. But I imagine Amanda Ribas will kind of just have a way with her in terms of taking the fight to the floor and dominating. And I think she's going to look fantastic. I honestly do. I think she's going to dominate the fight, and it'll be coming out to a party, and she'll crack top 5 after this, and it'll be impressive because it's Marina Rodriguez who would do right, but I think Ribas is that good.
Yeah, to break it down a little bit, I think Marina Rodriguez is great, right? But I think Ribas has beat better grapplers than her and better strikers than her. So I just don't I expect Ribas to just win this fight. I don't know if it'll be like it's sensational victory, but I do think she can output her on the feet. She can take her down and just control on the ground. There's many ways for her to win this fight, and we'll see what happens because, Rodriguez might pull something off and take all the traction that Ribas has built in this one. So it's interesting in a sense of that, but hey, it's going to be exciting to open the main card at UFC 257. We'll jump onto some prelims if you want to grab any. What are your thoughts on any of these?
Is that Khabib's teammate fighting in there?
Yeah, I believe... No, that's the midweek card, is it not? I could be wrong.
It's a Securian, Georgian fella. Anyway, that's a good fight against Hasquat, Nasrat, and this is a brilliant opportunity for everyone. Just because, as I said, it's such a big card, and you've got a lot of it's more old school people in the young up and comers. So you've got Brad Tavares in there, Juliana Pena, Sarah Mahman, Kalia Roundtree. There's lots of established names who I think the UFC are backing to do good things on this card. I really like Pena. He's always been one of my favorites since the tough days. I like Roundtree. There's lots going on in this card. It's a good card, but it's all about the main 2 fights, really. To be fair, all these other fights could be gone, and I still think for their main 2 fights, or even just for the main fight, people would still pay the $60-$70 or whatever it is in America. So I love these fights. As a fight fan, I'm going to enjoy watching them and building up to the main event, but it is kind of a very top-heavy card, as it always is when Conor McGregor's on the card.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be a great night of fights, and it'd be interesting to break all this down because there's a lot of moving parts here for quite a few different divisions. But with that, we'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll speak to you after the action to break it all down.
Thanks, guys.